Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Launches I've Loved. Glad to have you here. And we're joined today by Rory Woodbridge, who is currently head of product marketing at Pleo. Rory, awesome to see you, man. Good evening. I guess it's evening there. And thanks for joining us, and thanks for coming on Launches I've Loved.
Yeah, no worries, Jake. It's great to be on here. Yeah, it's getting close to pub o'clock here in the UK. But very happy to have a conversation with you first.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's a dangerous place to be in between a Brit and his
You know
pub.
it.
So we'll have a great conversation here, and then we'll let you get off and enjoy your evening. But yeah, again, great to connect. I think just the purpose of this time together, Rory, is just to hear about a launch from your career and your time in product marketing, which you can give a quick run through of all your experiences in product marketing, but I know there have been many. And launch notes are really big on two things. One is celebrating, because we think that oftentimes we're all just running so fast that we never take time to stop and celebrate. We're also big on transparency, both just kind of organizationally, because it's what our product helps teams do, but it's just something that we feel like more organizations need, and more people, and more conversations. And so I think hearing about a product launch that has had a sort of a memorable impact on you in your career as you've learned, and sort of hearing about not just celebrating it, but also kind of unpacking, hey, what did you learn, and what went well, and what did you do differently moving forward, I think is really valuable for all the product marketers out there, to learn and grow. So anyway, with that, I will hope to have a really informal conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I will turn it over to you to kind of introduce yourself, talk about Pleo, and then you can give just a little idea too of just kind of all the different product marketing roles you've had at some phenomenal companies.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I've been in product marketing now for basically a decade, which I think makes me a bit of a dinosaur in the space. I started my product marketing career at Google, being one of the first people in Europe working on Google Play, and then yeah, it was a very launch heavy time. I worked on the launch of Google Play Music, worked on relaunching it, and then also worked on the launch of YouTube Music. So yeah, you get pretty good at
Very
launches
cool.
when you're doing that across the EMEA region. But then ended up in the world of SaaS, and was at a company called Whereby, which is a video conferencing platform. And then most
Hmm.
recently, yeah, as you said, I'm head of product marketing at Pleo, which is a Danish company that is focused on helping companies make their employees feel more valued by providing expenses management and spending solutions that help progressive and distributed companies work more efficiently.
Terrific. Yeah, that's quite a resume. As you think about you're about 3 months in at Pleo, I know what sort of surprised you most, having jumped into this new role.
Well, I mean, you always like I thought Whereby was a very fast growing company that was a video conferencing platform that was growing during a pandemic when the world went remote, and then I've joined Pleo, and it's
Mm,
at sort of a next level really. It's incredible the pace of growth, the ambition of the leadership and everyone I'm working with, and the innovation going on every day. Every day I'm stumbling into conversations that I want to be a part of. So it's almost kind of it's like yeah, overwhelming and daunting how much I need to get stuck in with. But I love it. It's product like when you have a company that has a product led culture and has a product that where that's the main reason people love it, love the company.
mm.
Product marketing is like probably the best job in the world, basically, because you get to be at the heart of so many great conversations, and yeah,
Yeah.
you're keeping that show on the road. So yeah, really enjoying myself.
Well, congrats. And as we think about, or as you're thinking about sort of unpacking a launch from your career, will it be one of your first in your first 3 months at Pleo, or is there something prior to that that you want to talk about there?
It's a bit early days still. I can't claim to have a career changing launch yet at Pleo, but give me time and I'll work on it, and maybe we can come back in a few
Terrific.
months. But I'm going to go on from Whereby, because who are a Launch Notes customer, by the way, and we had a really good experience putting together our sort of Launch Notes for Whereby. I think they're still using it, and it's for a feature that was called Breakout Groups, and there's a few things that come to mind about why that launch particularly stands out, and the first one comes to do with like the actual like early in advance, and it's to do with like the product development and where product development should come from. So like I've written about this a little bit in the past, but the idea of like how do you prioritize features to build building for it, like and the idea of feature based differentiation, and my view is that you have to be careful with like working out your product feature roadmap and not worrying too much about what the competition are doing, and actually listening to your customers as the number one input for how to prioritize your roadmap. And I think that's what was important about the success of launching Breakout Rooms at Whereby, was that the insight it came from was from the customer. It was coming from user interviews. It was coming from our support team was screaming about the need of Breakout Rooms, and it was becoming clear that this wasn't like a single use case, that this was something that was needed from companies running workshops to the education sector using it for lessons, to people wanting it for fun, for having like pub quizzes or whatever, you know. And I should probably explain what Breakout Rooms is. That would be it's the idea of being in a video conference and being like a Zoom or a Microsoft Teams or a Whereby, and you're in a main video call, and then at some point during the experience you want to break out into smaller groups and then be able to return. And so that's what the feature was. So it was based on like a customer first insight, and I think that's a really important way to think about how you like plan out your roadmap, because if you spend too much time on the competition, I think you can end up with quite a distorted view, or going down the wrong path, and what works for competitor X won't necessarily work for you and your customers. So that was the first bit, and then I think it was just in general, like we were scaling at the time, and I think it was a really good time where we put together a bunch of best practices. I know you've worked on a lot of launches yourself, but I think the internal element is a huge part of the battle about providing the internal documentation and guidance, and just having all the right conversations. And so it was a case of really getting aligned with support and success, and where relevant sales, and making sure all of marketing were on board with what the message was. And then, I mean, we worked with a really great copywriter called Luke on coming up with some really strong messaging for what like the value prop was for the feature. And then we also had like a really kind of like clear goal of like what success was going to look like for the launch. And we'd really sort of we'd felt that this was a strong feature. Like whilst beta testing it, we'd realized that like a lot of people were saying it was stronger than what Zoom had come up with, like from a like UI and experience point of view. And a key reason for that is that we'd put the experience of the user first, and so not the person in control of the meeting, but the majority of people in the call, the people that would actually experience the feature. And I think that's another really important of product development. Think about like the end user, and not just the person like the admin. And like that's something that's like a really important philosophy at Pleo as well. We put the employee experience at the heart of everything we do, and we think that's a differentiator. We think that companies that choose software that creates great experiences for their employees will ultimately retain and attract better employees. And so similarly with Breakout Rooms, with Breakout Rooms, we felt that we had something strong that we could shout about, and we therefore felt it was worth having a go at Product Hunt. And so I'm sure like lots of product marketers listening to this will have tried Product Hunt or thought about it, and it's quite daunting really to like, because
Yep. To do a product hunt, to do it well takes time. Yes, I've learned that the hard way a lot of times.
Well, I'm glad, and we'd had a few shots at it before, but this was the one where we went and we thought, you know what, like, if we're going to do it this year, it's for this feature, and it kind of worked. We peaked at number 2 product of the day on Product Hunt, and I think that's like really, I think it's really good for a non-product, like standalone product. This was just a feature. Bear in mind, this was like Breakout Rooms by Whereby, not launching Whereby or an equivalent size product. And so that was a real like kind of success indicator for us, and we were really happy with that. And then you have other indicators like the reach, like who was exposed to it, who turned it on, who tried it for the first time. But on the whole, yeah, that the Product Hunt piece, I think we felt especially proud
of. Curious how you sort of think about. Sometimes I often hear from folks in sort of the B2B world that they don't think Product Hunt is the right channel or the right avenue.
I think if your audience is maybe in and we had good fit with kind of the startup community, and that was where a lot of Whereby and previously named as Appearance initial success came from in the early days, and being part of that tech startup community. So I think there's a natural fit there. But I'd also say it's pretty good as a general best practice to try and do, because what it asks of you is to get your launch to a certain standard that then benefits the world outside of Product Hunt as well, that benefits your blog announcement and your social and how you're speaking to your actual customer base, because it requires you to really put together like a strong package of content.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned several times sort of the success criteria, beyond sort of getting to second, which by the way it's a huge accomplishment. Is there something that as you were sort of leading into the launch, obviously, measuring success is always a hot topic. I'm curious how you guys sort of figured out, was it usage, or were you looking for new evals, or how did you sort of think about that? And then I'm also curious how you sort of shared that across product and product marketing for the launch.
Yeah, of course. And so, yeah, I mean, on metrics, like my view is it's really tough for product marketing to have metrics that are purely owned by that team, like across everything from like, you have to share some metrics with sales when it comes to like win-lose rate, and you have to share some with other marketing teams and some with product. But I think the other thing to call out is that there's the launch day metrics, and then there's the post-launch metrics, and to not conflate the two, because I think like launch day is really about reach and getting it out there. Who saw the pop-up notification, who saw the email, who clicked through, who turned it on and off again a few times. Like, did we do a good job at getting this message out there? But then the other thing is that the hard work really begins post-launch, because why did we launch this thing? Well, we launched it to ultimately get adoption of this feature, to drive engagement, to make, I don't know, to make your dashboard more sticky, or to get more users in a call, or get more wider adoption of the overall product, or to drive revenue in some capacity. And so that's the stuff that takes weeks and months and testing and iterating, and it is the really sort of the hard stuff that's shared between product and product marketing and product. And I'm sure everyone listening has gone through the very same experience.
Yeah, I love that as well. We have a piece on our blog that walks through sort of what I call the post-launch strategy. But the theme of it is largely what you just addressed, which is that people oftentimes, and there's so much work, right? And there's so much to celebrate on launch day, and things go out, and there's new videos and landing pages, and it's all great. But you're exactly right. It's like, that's almost like that's when the hard work begins of like, okay, how do we actually maximize everything that we've done up to this point and make it last, right? And make like a lasting impact in the market and to our users. And that's often due to priorities or whatever else that often seems to fall by the wayside, when really, like you just said, that's such a critical point, because especially with how much noise there is, you have to be in front of people for a long period of time and really be hammering home whatever it is you're doing, or else you're likely to miss, even the folks that are right in front of you.
For sure. But I really do agree with that sentiment around celebration, because it is so much of the time just an achievement in itself, getting the thing shipped. And then if you launch it well and there's loads of buzz, that is amazing. That is a huge success in itself. And there's almost always someone in a team that goes, "Oh, but the average session length is well below the previous feature." It's like, yeah, like it's not going to be perfect on launch day. We're not going to hit the ground running. And like, okay, great, we've got product market fit from day zero, and there's nothing else to improve. So yeah, you should celebrate the fact you launched it. You should celebrate that launch went well. But yeah, then stay humble and after a couple of days, get back on it and start working on those engagement and adoption metrics.
Yes, I love it. And as you think about this particular launch, I mean, it sounds like there was a lot to celebrate, a lot went well. I'm curious as you look back on it, if you could sort of replay the bridge hand, are there things that you would do differently next time? Is there something about it that you feel like fell through the cracks, or that you didn't nail to the degree that Rory likes to nail?
Try not to laugh at that. I think that's a good question. I think there's like the content can always be crisper. I think you can always maybe get like a few more use cases covered. There's nothing jumping out at me on that one, but like, no, that's not to say like it definitely could have been better. I'm sure, but I don't think there were any sort of like post-launch like kind of like big learnings. I think it was more around how do we like it's more like how do we jump on that adoption stuff straight away. It's you solve one problem and you create 5 more.
Yes. What you brought up sort of the post-launch stuff a few times. What strategies, either for this launch or for others that you've been a part of, do you find valuable to sort of keep beating that drum in the days and weeks after a launch?
Yeah, and this comes back to that whole like how the internal bit is as important, because like as getting out to your customers is like making the rest of your team like or the wider company aware of how something's performing, because I think a lot of companies and product marketing teams are guilty of like they'll announce the launch and then they'll go dark and no one will ever hear how that thing performed. And I think it's important to be providing regular updates, like most likely via Slack or email or whatever the right channels are for your company, of how the thing's performing, and not being afraid of saying, the launch went well, but engagement isn't what we were hoping it would be, or we've had big feedback from our customers that actually this feature is missing this key ingredient that they were expecting was going to be a part of it, and we've realized that's going to take 6 weeks of development, and then we think we'll really see a bigger impact. But yeah, I think like it's the internal comms piece that you need to not forget, and also provide a channel and forum for your colleagues to give feedback on the feature itself and make sure they feel heard.
Interesting. Did you get any feedback on this launch from internal colleagues?
I'm pretty sure we always do. Like, I think the good thing is like with a product like Whereby we were all like it's one like the company can really road test itself. So we had a lot lot of fun sessions testing that out, because every company in the world in 2021 needed video conferencing software. So we were using that every day, and we were coming up with all sorts of like different ways of using it, and had a lot of fun. So actually we had the benefit of like a lot of internal beta testing, and a lot of that feedback was heard. I think it's harder sometimes for companies that don't regularly use their own software. I mean, that's where it's tricky, and you really have to be dependent on and listen to your customers and get them involved in the process as early as possible.
Yes. Obviously the term dog fooding has become pretty popular in the industry. I recently heard someone say their own version of that, which is we like to drink our own champagne, which I thought was a nice twist on the eating your own dog food.
That's such a nicer way of putting it.
Yes. As appetizing as dog food often is. Want to get into the product hunt bit. You landed on number 2. I know from even, we actually launched our original beta version of Launch Notes on Product Hunt, and again, weeks of prep went in, and I think we got beat out by the Elon Musk name generator app, which we were laughing about.
The test of time, I'm sure.
Such a classic product hunt. Yes, exactly. Which is such a classic product hunt story. But anyway, I know that finishing the day in second is quite a feat. Can you I'm sure some of the folks that are going to be watching this are going to be wondering what is the secret? What was Rory's secret? What did Whereby do to kind of get that much momentum? Because there's product sounds very popular these days, as you know, and so getting that kind of to that level takes.
Well, I should say we peaked at 2 and we kept two for a long time, and then I think some sort of I think US based startup got involved and then bumped us down a couple. So we ended the day on 4, but still we were pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it's a ton of visibility.
Yeah, and I think there's a few technical things. Like I think it really helps to have a landing page rather than like a blog post, for example. I think making your content really premium, so having a video, and then there's obviously the who your hunter is. And I think we had someone who was very visible with lots of followers in the space, but also was an expert in the video conferencing, is an expert in the video conferencing space. And so I think trying to find as strong a contender for your hunter as possible would be my advice.
Few more questions for you. You brought up towards the beginning as you were talking about this launch, sort of the alignment pieces, which is sort of we agree at launch notes, and I agree personally is that's half the battle to really nailing any feature or product launch is it's like the iceberg. I always use the image of the iceberg. It's like the launch on launch day is actually just the tip. It's like everything that happens before that is really where a lot of the opportunity lies and the friction is, and depending on how well that goes, launch day is a direct result of that. So curious if you could just for this launch or just kind of generally speaking, talk through how you and your teams think about sort of preparing and all the internal enablement and alignment and sort of who's involved, and any insights there would be awesome.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a fluffy answer, but I'd say like the core and key thing is building relationships with the people you work with in other teams, and making sure you have really strong relationships with product and support and success and your fellow, like your wider marketing team. And it's a bit cliched, but like I think in fast moving companies, it's sometimes tempting to go heads down and focus on the work and just hope that it'll all come together. But actually carving out a big chunk of your working week to be building those relationships through either one-to-ones or meetings that are about something, but whatever works for you. But so making sure that trust, that collaboration and communication is there. I think other than that, it's about giving yourself as much time as possible. It's why I always push for product marketing to be in the loop very early on, like at the point of conception, really, when it comes to products and product feature development, so that we can start herding those cats together and like asking those questions of like, does finance know about this? Does legal know about this? Does do we have this booked into our CRM plan for the quarter? Starting to ask this question, as well as like, is this feature correct with the commercial message we're going out with, or what our actual target audience wants of us? So I mean, I think there's templates and there's formats of documentation that work for different people at different companies. But I think my tips are like get involved in launch conversations as early as possible. Don't be afraid of asking questions, ask dumb questions, and also think about who else needs to be in the loop on development that might not be aware of things. And then, as you approach launch, go into kind of like cheerleader mode and like, don't be afraid of over communicating and remember that you kind of need to communicate things in different ways, because different people like to be told stuff in different ways. Some people like to be told in person or over video chat. Some people want to watch Looms, or listen to voice notes on Slack. Other people's, they respond better to like company-wide presentations, and some people, it's all about acing. They just want to read written updates, and you kind of need to. It's on you, the communicator, to ensure that like your message is heard. It's not on the audience. You've got to make sure it's heard, and so you've got to do everything you can to make sure everyone is aware of what's coming and has a chance to feedback, to avoid those like scenarios that I'm sure again we're all familiar with, where like you've got 3 days to go and there's like a whole team you didn't know existed or whatever, that are stakeholders, and they go, no, you can't launch this because it totally conflicts with our strategy. So yeah, do your best to avoid those situations as much as possible.
That's all terrific advice. Yeah, the over communication bit is key. I used to have with my team when the run ups to big, any big release. I would always say, please over communicate. Like especially in the next month or two. Like I will never be not happy to hear from you.
Yeah, totally.
Just even if you think, hey, I've already said this twice. I'm just going to say it a third time. Say it a third time. Like don't hold back. This is not the time to assume that someone knows something. Because you're exactly right. It takes time and it takes different mediums and also takes repetition just to get in front of people and make sure they know what's coming. And but yeah, that alignment piece is critical.
So I once said it in a meeting with product though. Like I said, oh, there's no such thing as over communication when it comes to this launch. And one product manager goes, there really is. I think by that point he was sick of me speaking. But I think it's funny for some people, yeah, they're fine with one Slack message. But yeah,
he immediately mutes you on Slack. Right
exactly, and yeah, anyone's free to do that to us.
One question on sort of the PMM relationship. Again, at Whereby or even in your past roles, I'm curious. Like, it's a question I get from a lot of PMMs I speak with. Like, what's the best sort of structure for that? And I'm curious. Is there what's Rory's secret to the PM relationship?
Yeah, well, I think like it makes a lot of sense when you say it out loud, but like product managers don't like to be prescribed to on what they should be doing, and like it sounds obvious. No job, nobody wants to be prescribed to, but it's a thing that happens really regularly with product managers. Kind of everyone in the business, and often senior leadership is a big theme. I think they can just be like, no, I want this thing, like, and build me this. And actually, like my view is that product marketing should go to product with insights, problems to solve, things that we're seeing competition doing, and maybe even like outcomes we'd like to see, but never kind of prescribing the how we get there. I think that's the important thing to get in a relationship with product, and it should work vice versa. Like I think like you kind of don't want a product manager necessarily coming with what they think is like the final press release or whatever, say it, or like put this on the blog. I think that they need to come to us and be like, this is the value we're trying to convey. This is why we built this thing. Can you help us get it across? But yes. I think again, like the fluffy building those relationships and that kind of being the priority. Like when I'm a few months in at Pleo, but like it was a huge priority for me was going out and building those relationships straight away with the product team and with the product managers, because those are the people you're going to be collaborating with so regularly.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just remembering where the other person's coming from, and imagine like, don't try and tell product managers how to do their jobs. It would be over the last 10 years would be one of my top tips.
Well, that's terrific, and that's a good one to end on. I can't believe we're already at almost at 30 minutes here. But Rory, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for coming on Launches I've Loved and sharing your wisdom. I think there's a ton of insights here. And once you get some launches at Pleo under your belt, we'd love to do a return visit. And then before we go, I definitely want to allow you to. I know you've got you write a lot of great content for PMM, so I want to make sure that where can folks go to sort of learn and subscribe and get more Rory insights if they're so inclined.
Oh yeah, I've got a Substack called The Product Marketer. It's productmarketer.substack.com. I'd say it's quite like a rough around the edges blog where I will put some pieces that come to me that are inspired by conversations I'm having, either at the companies I work for, or I work with quite a lot of product marketers who are early in their career. I regularly kind of have sessions with people who are just getting started out and have questions, like either they're the first product marketer at their company or they've just moved into a role, and they'll ask me really great questions and we'll have really good conversations, and I'll go, oh, do you know what, that's a good idea for a post. So if you are interested in kind of basically hearing me think out loud but in written form about various product marketing topics, please subscribe, and it's totally free.
Amazing. Yeah, I can say as a happy subscriber, I think the content's terrific and would encourage anyone listening to this to subscribe to Rory's Substack. All right. Well, it is 5 o'clock there. It is your time to head to the pub, and I think just want to say thanks again, Rory. Really enjoyed the conversation and appreciate the time, and look forward to having you back on for another episode, maybe in a few months or sometime next year.
Likewise, really enjoyed myself. Thanks for having me, Jake.
Thanks, Rory.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Launches I've Loved. For additional insights and best practices from the world's best product and marketing leaders, and to join in the conversation yourself, head over to our Launch Awesome Slack community. Sign up for free today at launchnotes.com/launch-awesome.